I spoke to Jen and she's going to take over the meeting for me as the vice chair. One other thing, well, I'll wait till we get to it. So I'll call the meeting to order and I'll read the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the County of Haliburton is located on Treaty 20, Mississauga territory, and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which are Curve Lake, Rama, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. We acknowledge the shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area. Recognize its original Indigenous inhabitants as the stewards of the lands, waters, since time immemorial. Thank you. Could I have a motion to adopt the agenda? And just before you do that, I'm going to ask if we could move item 8.1 up. Pardon?
It's some traffic in the hallway, some members of the public.
Oh, it's not you guys. Okay. I thought you were trying to say something. Hi, Cease. Welcome aboard. We can move 8.1 up to the next item after
How are you?
Good. After we approve the adoption of the agenda and the conflict of interest, because I've got to leave and I want to be around for that. So could I have a motion to motion is be resolved that the Haliburton County Library Board adopts the agenda for the June 12, 2024 regular meeting. Moved by Walt and seconded by Lisa. Thank you very much, everybody. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. We'll do now the any conflicts of interest on anything in the meeting. We're all book readers, I'm sure, so we can't declare a conflict with anything because of that. Could I we have the motion, we have a consent agenda, which is the adoption of the minutes of May 20th, I believe. Librarian's report for June 12th. The circulation statistics. Any questions on the consent agenda? Good. May I have a motion to approve that, please? Or move it, sorry. Moved by Jen, seconded by Cease. Anybody in the room got their hand up? Okay, so Cease it is. Now, we could go right into the 8.1 and we'll save the financial report till after that, okay? So let me set the stage for this a little bit. You'll recall that in our budget discussions with the county, we were asked to, or our funding from the county was cut by 115,000. We were asked to use our reserves to cover that cost, which we approved as a board. In the interim, Andrea had committed to coming back to us on the June 12th meeting, which is today's meeting, with some recommendations with respect to administrative restructuring, which would negate the use of the surplus going forward. So this is kind of, will bring the budget down to the level that the county funded us at, and we can go forward after that. I'm going to turn it over to Andrea to take us through her report. I'm going to assume everybody's read it. So Andrea, you don't have to go through it in great detail, but give us the highlights, particularly the more significant changes that you're making. And then, oh, sorry, Jen, go ahead.
Can I confirm, is this being recorded already? Because I'm sure others will want to watch this when they can.
Erin?
Yes, the stream is actually saved to YouTube and it will be available for people to watch after
Great.
the meeting as well.
Thank you.
Great, yeah. That usually, as soon as we go into the session, she usually turns on the recording. Okay, Andrea, all yours. And again, not the gory details, but the highlights of particularly the administrative changes that you're making to allow us to get to where you're recommending us to be. Okay.
Thank you, David. I just want to start off by acknowledging that it's been a challenging time for library staff to have this period of insecurity where we knew that these reductions were coming, but didn't have the full picture of where exactly they would be. And it's also we've been down a team member and now two since back in October. So I just want to start this by saying that I'm very grateful to Hillary and Tessa and Aaron and the team members who have departed, Cheryl and Melanie, and Shauna and Jamie B, who have been working in the programming role temporarily. It's been a huge team effort, and what you see for you in this report today, it's many hours of thinking and deliberating, and we've worked really hard to get these recommendations to meet the budget target that we have been asked to meet. So I want to start by saying thank you. And I would also like to say, so there are a number of options put forward in this report. The total does come to, of all of the possible reductions outlined, 127,100. Hillary and Aaron on the back end there have a chart. So as we discuss the different options, we can kind of slot in the numbers for where we're at. There may be changes that you want or don't want as the discussion unfolds. So I guess let's launch in. So I've divided the possible changes into 3 different areas. So the first is changes in terms of positions and responsibilities. The second area of changes is around efficiencies that we can get through scheduling our team members. And then the third involves different workflows and how we might change things to have reductions in other areas that aren't necessarily specifically staff related. So assuming that hopefully you all had time to read it, the big change in the first part is, as you know, Melanie has moved on to Algonquin Highlands, so we have a vacant position. So the key area of savings in this part of the report is not to fill the admin support coordinator role and divide those tasks between the rest of the team members. In order to do that, we will need to increase the scope of the role of the collections development coordinator. And the other area in terms of the wages area is to move the programming and coordinator role, which is currently full-time, into a 28-hour per week part-time position. The major savings would be in the benefits and vacation pay and all that. Highlights then from the second area, the changing the admin staff to a compressed work week where staff work more in 1 week and less in the second week on a rotating basis, so that we have staff throughout the week, with the 2 most expensive positions working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then 4 days the following week. That would, with a reduction in salary bi-weekly, make up quite a bit of money, so $27,000. There are a couple of other options there in terms of savings, so cutting the some of the programming hours, so that's not related to the position, but it's the hours that we provide to branch staff to do specific types of programming, and career run from going twice a week to going once a week. This really impacts the public because things take a really long time to move around the county. When someone wants a hold, it has to come here and then has to go around. So those are the highlights for that section. And then the third part, these amounts are definitely not as large as the savings from the other sections, but in terms of workflow, so discontinuing print magazines, it would be a savings of about $1,300. This doesn't seem like a necessarily huge amount of money, but what that does is savings on the staff time end. So if we're reducing quite a few hours within the admin team, it is something that requires a lot of time for staff to process. So really it's a savings in staff time in addition to just the not renewing the print magazines. But there's been a huge uptake in digital magazines anyway. And print magazines so they're cost a lot for staff time and, yeah, a reduction that we would, need to see. Some of the other things on this list are just so you're aware of the impacts, so we don't need to delve into them too much. And so if we said yes to all of those changes, it would be a savings of $127,100. So that's kind of the high level gist of it. Does anyone have any questions?
I do, Andrea. So, you proposed $127,100 worth of reductions, and thank you for doing that. It's a lot of work that you've done against a request of $115,000, which leaves about $12,100 of money, additional cuts that you proposed above and beyond what was required by the board's last motion. If you were to add back into the budget some things that might use up some of that $12,100, what would they be?
Well, I would probably not reduce the courier run from twice per week to once per week. That really doesn't have an impact on public service, but also on staff, because it takes a long time when we need to get, programming materials, for example, out to staff members. It's not ideal. I would say that cutting programming time, so the hours for our branch staff doing programming, definitely those hours really benefit the community in all sorts of ways, because they, provide learning and fun and reasons for people to come into the library. They're of huge benefit to the community and to staff. So I would say those two. The film license is also, that is a great way to show your films to families that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. You need that license in order to show, 101 Dalmatians or Minions or whatever. That's something we've been doing on Pro D days, for families to watch movies for free. So those would be kind of top three that I would probably remove. I would love to see the programming and outreach coordinator role not be reduced, but if we remove that, I don't think we remove the target.
Okay, so I kind of like those. I think that, in my rough calculation in my mind, would be about $8,800 worth of cost that we could bring back in and still be within our funding envelope as requested by the county.
David, Aaron has
That
just
would leave about $3,300 still within that envelope for kind of emergency that may have come along during the year. And I'd be prepared to move that those three items be put back in if there's support to do that. Now, that's just me. The floor is open for anybody else who wants to ask any questions with respect to this. Cease, you've got your hand up. And everybody that's in the room, I can't see you very well, so if you want to speak, just jump in, okay? Thank you. Go ahead, Cease.
Yeah, my question is
Maybe Cliff.
Sorry,
it's Cease today.
Cliff
right?
will work too. Cliff, Cease, who's it? What's it? Any one of the above. The three items that you're talking about, David, would those be items that would be serviced directly to the public? In other words, by putting them back in, we would be providing a better service to
I think they would,
people that we serve.
In my opinion, because if you take the courier as an example, we deliver 2 days a week now to the whole system, which is a big run. If we reduce that to one, that means the customer is going to wait longer to get a book transferred from wherever it is to wherever it should be where the customer is. So that would impact the service. The programming hours speak for themselves. There would just be that many hours less to program for children in our libraries or other things that we do. And I think Andrea spoke about the film license. That is directly related to our ability to provide those films to our customers or our members. So all three of those things in my mind, Cliff, are very customer focused, very directly.
If that's the case, I would be more than willing to either move it or second it.
Okay, thank you. I'll put you as mover.
Jackie has her hand up.
I do, but the questions have been substantially answered, and I'm glad there were those three items, because I had gone through and go yes, no, and those were all no's. So so I'm quite happy to support that. Now, I do have a question related to these position responsibility changes. The increase of $7,000, is that because it's a new pay grade, or how does that work?
Yeah, so if you remember at the last meeting, we said, because I was putting together, like, how would this work if we reduce the position? So
Yeah.
with new job descriptions, they've been sent to an HR consultant, and she's done the preliminary review of, with all the changes, where the pay would land. I had a Zoom meeting with her on Monday. We'll get the full report a couple of weeks, but she knew that I needed the information for this meeting. And so the other jobs that we've adjusted the responsibilities, they don't change the pay band, but in this role, with the way we've changed it, it moves from a band 5 to a band 6. So it's obviously $7,000 isn't the full amount, it's the amount from the one band to because it goes up by one band with the increased tasks.
And just further along with that, if you're decreasing the programming and outreach coordinator role is going down to 28 hours. So that's a substantial change, but that surely has significant impact on someone's ability to survive in Haliburton, and so the 28 hours without benefits is a whole lot less of a job to attract people. So I'm a little concerned about that, although I understand that it was a substantial decrease in terms of our budget, but in terms of actually getting the right person in that role long term, that worries me a bit.
Well, I'm pleased to say that Hillary has been acting in the deputy CEO role, and we have 2 candidates on our branch team who have been sharing the programming and outreach coordinator role while Hillary's been doing this. So they've been sharing the tasks temporarily. So I'm confident that within our team, we should be able to fill this.
Okay.
I mean, it's not, none of this is ideal. This is, the goal of this is to reduce the budget, right? It's, that's what I've been tasked with doing, and it's not, with programming, it is scalable in ways that some of the other roles aren't. So we can say yes to these programs and no to these programs, and it's flexible. I mean, we can have 10 programmers and it would be amazing. But you're absolutely right. Having a full-time job with benefits and vacation days and, paid sick, and it is a loss to a community member. But it is a reduction in cost.
Thank you, Andrea and Adele. Jackie, did you have your hand up?
No, I think that just about covers it. I think it's very, very, what's the word? Altruistic to reduce one's own salary. But, if it's something that the staff can live with, then it's obviously it's something that works for us.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, Jen has her hand up.
So just to understand, you say that right now 2 people have been supporting or have been sharing the programming and outreach coordinator role. So does that mean that Hillary would go back into that role and those 2 people would go back into other into their original roles? Is that the
The
human?
goal today of this meeting from the staff's perspective is to have some resolution from this report around how we can proceed with filling our positions that we have open. So it's my intention that we would post the available jobs internally and that we would be successful in getting candidates.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else got a question? I have a couple more. Okay, so Andrea, I want to go now to the scheduling efficiencies section and talk about the recommendation with respect to you and the deputy CEO, whoever that's going to be. Where you're going to reduce your bi-weekly daily schedule from 10 days to 9 days and not be paid for that 10th day, but be away from the office. Is that correct?
That's correct. So in order for this reduction to be feasible, it for me, at least personally, and presumably for the deputy, is to have a compressed work week. So there would be, we would alternate with 1 day every 2 weeks that one of us would take off. So one would be working, the other one wouldn't. If we simply were to say, well, let's make a reduction from a 40-hour work week to a 35-hour work week, I personally know that I would just still keep working my days that I work, and I just wouldn't be getting paid for time that I work. But if I know that every second week I have a set day that I know I'm going to be off, I won't be scheduling meetings on that day. I will be, attending things. And so it will allow me to actually take that day off. I know it is an attractive schedule for people in the future that we may want to attract to the county. It is compressed work week is something that a lot of younger people look for in a role. And so I can live with this as long as it's a compressed work week schedule and not just a weekly reduction in hours.
Well, your concern then is that if you don't do this and you just do it on a reduced hourly number of hours from 40 to 30 to 35, you'd be working anyway.
Yeah, and I just wouldn't get
and not getting paid for it. So this is a sort of a signal as I'm prepared from your. I'm putting words in your mouth, and tell me if I'm wrong. I'm prepared to go down to the schedule that you're recommending, but don't expect me to come to work on my day off because I'm not getting paid for it. I'm not coming to work. Is that fair?
exactly. And what we can
Sorry to be blunt about it, but that's the best way to do it.
That's absolutely, so that it is a reduction, but it's a reduction in staff time working. So
Okay.
there is implications for not having the deputy and the CEO working that day. There'll be things that we can't attend, or initiatives.
My concern, Andrea, really is that, and it's not a concern. It's just that tweaked my thinking when I read this. As long as you and the deputy are never both off on the same day.
So that's correct. We would be scheduling so that we would be opposite.
Okay, good.
And so in terms of the changes, what we would recommend as part is we hadn't talked about it, but it is noted there that we would move the admin staff also to bi-weekly compressed week, and then we could alternate. So we could pair up the jobs, and so there would always be someone working. So that would it would enable the programmer to work every second Saturday, for example. So right now, the programming and outreach coordinator doesn't have a regular Saturday schedule, but of course we know lots of programs happen on weekends, right? So moving the team from a weekly schedule to a bi-weekly where we take turns with the day off would actually have benefits for the team and also for the public.
Yep. Okay. I get it. Jen, go ahead.
Yeah, David, I get what you say. You don't want to put words into her mouth, and here I'm possibly going to commit that same crime myself, but I really didn't see it as a message from her to us saying, don't expect me to be there on that day. I heard it and I believe it to be a self-regulation thing. Like if I'm not going to be paid those hours, I need to force myself to not be in the office so that I am not simply, running amok with all of the work that's loaded up. I will be taking that time off for me and my health and all those other things. I didn't see it as a sort of as a stab, much more about self-sanity and being true to yourself.
Well put, Jen. I agree completely. And that's kind of where my head was at as well. I just want to make that clear to everybody. If we approve this plan as it's submitted or amended, we have to recognize that that's going to be the situation in those circumstances. Okay, any other questions on this? Walt, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you give me a real quick Coles Note version of what the changes are again?
Yeah. Oh, I'll try and do it. Yeah, I'll try and do
and the amounts.
Yeah. So if you start at the top of the first section, that's called position responsibility changes. The admin support coordinator, which is Andrea's as executive assistant or administrative assistant. She has left the library about 2 months ago or a month and a half ago and gone to work for Algonquin Highlands. So we're not filling that position, and that creates a saving of $75,000. In doing so, we're redistributing the work of that position into the admin support coordinator's role, and that's going to and others, and that's going to cause a bit of an increase because they go into a different pay range because they're doing more work. So that adds 7,000, and then changing the program and outreach coordinator's work package from 35 hours to 28 hours saves $22,000. So the decrease in that section is $90,000. You go to the next section, which is the scheduling of efficiencies. There's a number of reductions there. The most significant of which is the one we just spoke about, and that is that Andrea and her deputy CEO would work nine out of the 10 days in a 2-week period, not 10 of the 10, and that would result in a $27,000 savings through the whole. So that's a fairly significant change. The whole savings in that particular section is, with a few other things, is $34,300. And the last section has to do with workflow adjustments, and the savings there are $2,800. When you add all those savings up, it comes to $127,100. $127,100 is the reduction here, which is about $12,000 more than what we asked the staff to come up with, $115,000. So Andrea has recommended that we add back $8,800 from her cuts, and they are $3,700 for the courier run, so the courier can continue to deliver 2 days a week, not one. Reestablish the programming hours in the facilities, which is going to add $3,600, and get the ACF film license, which is $1,500. So the net effect of all of this is that after we're all done, if we were to approve these 3 items that Andrea has recommended, the overall reduction, county asked for $115,000. We've actually reduced it by $118,000. So there's a $118,000 reduction in this package with the additions that we brought back in, which is more than what the county asked us to cut. And that means that we won't have to use reserve funds to continue to operate the budget, because the last thing you want to do is become very dependent on reserve funds. If we had the whole $115,000 coming out of reserve funds, we'd bleed the fund dry in probably 2.5 years, and that's not very good.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a moved by, oh, sorry, Jen, go ahead. You're on mute, Jen.
Sorry about that. So just thinking back, when we did look at our original budget, we did decide to take a couple of smaller things from reserves. Can we pop those back in now so that I suppose we're submitting this back to county, but so that we hit that 115
No, we don't have to go back to county with this. As
We
long
don't,
as,
okay,
as long as we're within their request, we're fine.
okay, fine, okay,
If we said, no, we can't do it, then we'd have to go back to county, but this plan puts the county's request fully and completely taken care of.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. So I have a mover by Cease and seconded by, somebody said they were seconded? Was it Jen or Lisa? Okay, yeah, okay, so the motion will be that the Haliburton County Library Board approves the administrative team staffing model adjustments as amended. Anybody opposed? So, and by the way, those amendments would be those three things that we spoke about and they'll be in the minutes. Anybody opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, now that we'll go back and do the financial report. Andrea, if you want to do that, and I'll write up this motion while you're talking and I'll have it ready. And oh, by the way, Hillary, I'm going to be in Haliburton tomorrow, so I'll pop these in for you, okay?
Perfect. I don't really have much to say about the financial report this month. Things are kind of looking on track. I don't have any concerns. Does anyone have any questions?
Seeing none.
The revenue for the Friends of the Library, does that include, there was a recent sale, right? A book sale, so there are a few dollars to.
Yeah, so that, so it does say 0, but we have received some money, so it's a matter of
Okay,
doing
so
all
it's
the
just a timing
coding.
thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a timing.
Yeah,
Yeah. We actually don't get the money directly. We give them the invoices and anyway, it's a.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we'll get it. And we have received some.
Good.
Okay, could I have a motion to receive or approve the financial reports? Moved by, how about
Adele?
somebody? And Paul? Okay, thank you. Gotta keep up with my motions here. Okay, next item is the Dorset branch. Now, Andrea, you can take this and go with it, okay?
Yes, so I'll start, Hillary. So just a few updates. So you will have seen in the county librarian's report a layout, an image with the layout of the Dorset branch, which is very exciting. The contract was awarded to Schoolhouse Products, Inc. The contract came in really close to our budget. So the amount is $34,313.58, which we signed off on. We did get an email this morning saying that the furniture, they've requested the fast track, they've requested to expedite it for end of July, but it's possible it may come in mid to late August. So we're still trying to align with the July 27th opening. That's still the goal. But she did say that we might be a little bit later on furniture. The next part of this, before we get to the hours, which Hillary will talk about, when we did visit the Dorset Recreation Center on May 24th, we noted that the book drop that was previously used on the building, on the outside, on the outer wall, with the reconfigured layout, the book drop actually goes into the washrooms. So we can't actually use the book drop anymore. So it's going to be necessary to purchase an outdoor book drop. So we've been in touch a little bit with Algonquin Highlands staff, and we've found a potential model that's smallish and the least expensive. These book drops are expensive, but we found one that's more doable. And so we do need some guidance from the board on how to proceed with that. If the board would like to fund the book drop from reserves, or if we need to ask Algonquin Highlands for the budget, or if we fund the book drop and get them to install it, or
What's the cost, Andrea?
So we're still waiting for the quote back. We did find one that's likely going to be around $4,000. The bigger ones go up to $10,000 or $15,000. So I don't think we'll get that many returns that we would require something larger.
If we were doing that, we would do it from reserves, right?
Yes, it's not in our current budget.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not something that we could forecast. beforehand.
You don't want our precious books ending up in the washroom.
No, I think they're gonna have to cover like lock it somehow and cover it over.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they'll fix that up. Okay. Keep going if you want.
So sorry, so that just for this part, before we move ahead into the discussion about the hours, I just would need some direction from the board on whether to purchase that from reserves or to request from Algonquin Highlands, or to divide it, repay the book drop and ask the Algonquin Highlands to install it, which would be what I would recommend.
Any opinion on that? I would suggest we just take it from reserves. It's a very small amount. Everybody okay with that?
In reserves, the information I got from Andrea Robinson, so December 31st, 2023, we had reserves of 298,979. What we currently have designated to come from reserves in 2024 is 188,300. So that's the amount transferred from reserves to operations, all the Dorset things and computer replacements and air filters. So after all that, we'll have $110,000 approximately in reserve. So
does that 188,000 include the 115,000?
Yeah, 105,000. Yeah,
Or 105,000.
$10,000 in reduction. So
yeah. So
we have the money in reserve, so it's just a matter of
no, I understand that. I'm just thinking out loud about if we implement your changes today to the administrative team staffing model adjustments as you proposed, we will not have to dip into reserves for the whole 105,000, I wouldn't think.
Well, it will be less. So these are amounts for 2025 that will be not in the budget in 2025. However, some will be retroactive in 2024.
Yeah.
So
okay.
for example, Melissa's worked part of the year, but then we'll have the whole rest of the year where we're not filling her role. The print magazines renew midway. So there's different, like it won't be an even.
Yeah, I understand. I just wanted to make that clear, is that we're part of that drawdown we would have taken from reserves for the budget will be offset by these savings we're going to make this year, and that full impact of that will occur in 2025. Right.
Oh, on Andrew's question about the payment for the book drop, like this thing's been inching forward bit by bit, and here's another inch that we're moving, but like in for a penny, in for a pound, I would say pay for the box and then install it, but that's got to be it. If there are any other incidentals or other costs associated with the opening of that branch, I think we should draw the line there.
And perhaps look to Algonquin Highlands.
Yeah.
Funding. This is unexpected in that this was something that we thought was in situ, but it's not.
Yeah.
Well, and if I may, Dave.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and on that, if the board would like, I'd be happy to take it to Algonquin Highlands before the board makes its decision, because it is something that we had provided before, which we now can no longer provide. So it's a fair question to see whether we can come up with a solution for that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Jen. I was going to suggest that. Why don't you take the lead on this and speak to the staff at Algonquin Highlands and see what they say, or your council?
And they already have all that information, the specifications, and none of
We
us have the
sent-
cost, but
We sent them a few different examples,
Okay.
and then we found one that was a little less expensive. And so Tessa has sent the information for us to get a quote. So we're waiting to hear back. And like I would imagine, they're quite heavy, so I would imagine there'd be shipping costs, and not sure how it would be installed. But yes, we've had communication with Adam and
Okay.
Brian.
Okay.
Chris.
I'd be
Okay.
happy to take that back if that works for the board.
Yeah, I think that's great, Jen. Thank you. Appreciate that very much.
I didn't want to sound petty, I just think
No,
you
you're
just
right,
want
you're
to
right.
draw
Yeah,
a
little
line
bit,
somewhere,
little bit,
but
little
that's
bit.
pretty close and a nice offer, a nice way to resolve.
Paul, I'm going to send you for my family budget to do. Get me back on track. Okay, so we've
So now we're moving to Hillary.
are we okay with the proposed hours that Andrea is recommending in this report? I
So
don't see any-
Hillary Montgomery is gonna walk you through the.
Oh, okay, all right, go ahead, Hillary.
Want some feedback.
Okay, go ahead, Hillary. Thank you.
Yeah, so for the proposed hours, so I have two options for proposed hours for the new Dorset branch. So just before I get into the hours, some things that we considered. So the board had previously approved 14 hours. So we're working 14 hours a week in proposal. And we looked at different factors in the community of Dorset, what's going on and what would be the best hours. So we looked at the opening hours of the Oxton Lake landfill, which is Wednesdays, which is why we proposed Wednesday openings. We looked at the Google Analytics for Robinson's General Store and the days that they are busy, which is Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, which aligns with what we're proposing. I also talked with the staff at the rec center to get some more information about what programs they will be offering, which will be, there will be some morning stuff, so 9 to 10 a.m. That's why we think it's important to have a 10 a.m. opening. And then we looked at some previous library programs that now have moved online since the library closed in Dorset. So that's the book club and coffee and coloring that we hope to kind of return to the library in some capacity. So the two options I have that the administration is proposing for Dorset, they're not paired. So we're not pairing them with Stanhope, which is something that we do with some of our Highlands East branches is we pair them. So the standalone shifts, they range from 4 to 5 hours. And what we're suggesting is that we open with one of these two options, and then based on community and staff feedback, that we relook at it in the future to see if we need to change it. One change may be pairing it with the Stanhope branch, but in order to do so, we'd have to change the hours of the Stanhope branch because they don't align with the opening hours of the rec center. So we wouldn't be able to fit those 14 hours in to be able to pair it now. That's why we just have the two options for pairing it. And if it's in the future, if we wanted to ever pair it, it would increase the cost because we would have to pay staff the half an hour in between each branch. And we'd also have to pay the mileage. So that would range from $143 a week to $151 a week. So that's for the future, but for now we're looking at one of the two options and then we're looking at it in the future. So the two options, so both of them have Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday shifts. Both of them have Wednesdays 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and Saturdays 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. The only difference between the two is our Friday openings. So we have an earlier opening from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. or a 1 p.m. to a 5 p.m. So we're just looking for feedback from the board about what they prefer for those two different options. The second option allows us a little bit of a later opening period. It doesn't allow so late that it's less desirable for staff or later in the winter when people aren't going to be coming out most likely, but it does give some community members more flexibility with a bit of a later opening till the 5 p.m. So yeah, those are our two options. And for some feedback.
Okay, so there's a couple of options on the Friday. Anybody want to opine on either one of them? I mean, I personally think the 1 to 5 is the better option because it allows kids to go to the library after school or other later in the day issues as opposed to closing at 3 o'clock where, you know, kids are still in school. Sometimes they have to go to the library after school and do a few things. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Anybody want to jump in?
I think that has merit, but the other thing I was concerned about is for people just to keep it in mind, the library is open from 10 to 3. And so, oh, damn, I thought it was open 10 to 3, but it's
Yeah,
actually,
good,
you know,
good point, Jackie. Yeah, it kind of
I-
breaks continuity, doesn't it?
yeah, and I guess for students, open till 5. I don't know whether students on a Friday afternoon are going to go to the library. And they do have Saturday if they do need to go. So I would opt for the 10 to 3 personally.
But it's 11 to 3.
11 to 3. Sorry, 11 to 3. 11 to 3.
Okay, do we all want to land on that 11 to 3 and we'll try it out for a while and see if it works? And if we want, we can adjust it. Where do you want to go the other way, Jen? And then Walt.
I think that's a wise way of starting, and then perhaps there could be some scope later on to talk to parents and see if we did shift the time until an after school time on a Friday, would you use it in reality or not, and see what they say?
Yeah, I think that's good. That's a good point. Walt?
I would just say I was for it. I'd give it a thumbs up.
Okay. So it looks like we got some consensus on the 11 to 3 option across the board, with an opportunity to take a look at it as time goes on, and also to come back and look at the unpaired versus paired option in the longer term. Is that fair enough?
Can I just ask what the staff think?
Yep.
What would your preferred option be?
There's pros and cons to both. Dorset is quite far for a lot of current staff members. So it's a bit like the situation in Highlands East, where we have purposefully paired the 2 shorter shifts and provided the mileage and travel time. Because if you're traveling, say, from the Minden area to Dorset, back and forth, it is quite a long drive, and you're not compensated for mileage going to or from work. It's only between destinations during the workday. I think in general, paired shifts provide more hours in a day, but it would involve moving stand-hold hours around as well. So it's logistically for us kind of changing the staff configuration and opening a new branch. I think, it would be a lot to try with the pairing right now. I would suggest we try with one of these and think about in the fall how it's going, and definitely reassess. It will allow us time to see if staff will take shifts up there.
I guess, which option would you land on? Is what I'd really like to know, because we board members may all have our opinions, but I really think you're the expert on what.
So I am fine with either option. I think the for the public, maybe the option 1 might be better on Friday. And also for staff, Friday night, if you end your shift at Friday night at 5 p.m. in Dorset, it's late. That said, for cottagers and people who may be coming up through Dorset to come to the cottage for the weekend, might prefer the later option. There's pros and cons to both. Actually,
Right.
that's why we brought it to you.
I tend to think that I tend to think if you're a cottager and it's 5 o'clock in Dorset, you're at the liquor store.
Yeah, I agree. Jen, I'm going to let Jen answer the question. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, either you're at the liquor store and you've already made your way up, or you're just leaving Toronto at 5 p.m.
Yes.
Like, I don't think we're going to get a bunch of folks who are motoring their way up for the weekend, stopping at the library. It's
No.
going to be liquor store and home, and they're going to come at 11.
I agree.
But I'd be so curious to find out at a later stage, do a little bit of consultation, see what we learn. I think it could be really interesting. We might be surprised.
Okay, where have we settled on this? Are we going to do the 11 to 3?
Dave, one more question here at the table.
Just one thing.
Sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
One thing about the 5 o'clock, I think Dorset, whether they're elementary or high school students, their buses are getting there at 5 o'clock or after 5 or somewhere around there. So they're not likely to get to the library so I would go with option 1.
Well, having a child in the elementary system, they would get there indeed in order to go to the library. There's no question. They'd be getting home around 3:30. So it is, there is that's from the Dwight School. So
Okay, because
it's not a non-thing. I think parent consultation would be really interesting eventually.
Basing it on our experience in Minden Township, and we're not that far from the school or from Haliburton High School, and the kids were getting home at 4:30, and it's only 15K. So I guess it depends on your school and bus run. So I retract my statement.
Okay, well, let's do the 11 to 3 option with and ask the staff to in consultation to see if a 1 to 5 on Friday would be a better option. Is that fair?
Yes.
Does that give you enough direction, Andrea?
Yeah, so we can start with that and see, well, it'll be a test for the patrons and for staff, and then kind of make a plan to consult and to come back and discuss if we want to make changes.
Okay, perfect. Now it's being time for me to get going, Jen. I'm going to turn it over to you. Or sorry, got that you read that you heard the motion. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you. So, Jen, it's going to be the annual report and then adjournment. Okay.
Yeah.
And Hillary,
and municipal roundtable.
Yes, municipal roundtable. And Hillary, if you wouldn't mind getting the mover and seconder for those last 2 items, because I'm going to be not on the screen in about 2 seconds. Thank you all very much. I'm sorry I have to leave, but I do have to get here because I'm doing a little talk at this little event. Thank you very much.
Bye, David.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye. See you, Cliff.
Okay, great. So Andrea, are you going to give us a few words on the annual report?
I think not a lot of words, just a huge thank you to Tessa, who did her amazing work again in pulling together lots of information in a very succinct and attractive format. So it's a 2-page document, so highly readable, presents some great highlights, diverse highlights too from the year. So we've got, everything from the new van, the radon detector loans that we initiated, lots of online engagement, 888 people taking water tests to Minden Branch. We're doing many different things across the whole county. And I think Tessa's done an amazing job in pulling out the highlights and putting it together. Help from team members, Erin and Hillary as well. So it's, an attractive, spunky report.
That's great. Lovely. Any questions or comments on the report apart from wholesale congratulations from all, I'm sure? No. The one comment I might make is that as the board, I don't believe has been told yet, county council has agreed that the structure of funding from the province for library services, which has not changed in fact, I think is reduced in the last 20 years, is very much cause for concern, and we are taking it to to a ministerial delegation at the AMO conference in Ottawa. And the reason I raise it now is because I think this is a great report to stick into that delegation package and say, you may not know, but library services are not only about books anymore, and just look at all these extraordinary things that we're doing, despite all of these challenges that we've got. So that'll be a great addition to that.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. And congratulations.
Yeah. Anything further on that? Great. So could I have a mover and a seconder to accept the annual report? Lisa and Paul. Thank you. So moved by Lisa, seconded by Paul, that the annual 2020, is it 2023 annual report? Yeah, of course. That the 2023 annual report be accepted. All in favor? Yeah, that's carried. Thank you. So we've got now the municipal update roundtable. If I could look to my fellow councillors, Walt, Lisa, or Cease, anything from your end? No?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Cease, anything from your end?
Not really.
All right. So from Algonquin Highlands' end, as you know, we're going to be reopening the Dorset Rec Center. The opening day, the grand celebration day, is the 27th of July. Andrea, you're unsure whether there's going to be furniture for the library by that date. Is that right?
That's correct. That was our target date, but it's literally this morning we got an email saying it may not be ready. And once the furniture is installed, we still need to get the books from the Stanhope branch in the basement there and bring them ITS to come set up the computers. And so it's all hinging on a timeline that we don't control. So hopefully it may be ready, but just with that email, it may
Doesn't sound like it.
not. Yeah.
So then, have you had an well, probably not, because you just received the email. I'm just wondering what consideration we might give to a plan B to draw attention to the library that it's coming, because I realize our next board meeting is not until September. And while we could have a special board meeting to discuss it, I mean, we could certainly do that. If you wanted any sort of board consent for anything, then by all means we could do that. But it would be so nice to have a presence of some kind to draw attention to the fact that the library is coming.
Yeah,
Any
so
thoughts on that?
Hillary is working on the July schedule, which we hope to have out in the next few days. And so we have, allocated staff for that day. So we will be there in some capacity. It may be an empty room and we do a game or
Cookies.
cookies, or we'll have a presence even if it's not, I mean, as long as the room isn't under construction and a safety issue, whether it's an empty room or a full room full of books, we'll do something. I'm not sure if we need your permission. I think we would just treat it as a program in the community. Without any sort of special approval, if that's
okay. Yeah, I didn't know if there might be budget considerations. If you need, like, I don't know, if you wanted to do big posters or something like that, then maybe that's already within programming budget. But I guess all that to say, if you need us, count on us. We will reconvene to support your ability to do what you need to do if it falls outside of your regular programming budget.
all right. Thank you.
Yeah, Paul, please.
Just wondered if the building isn't ready for the library, if maybe we could use the van as a bookmobile kind of a thing, just as a temporary for the day because of the scheduling issue. Just something to
That's a
think
great
about.
idea, especially if things are under construction and we can't physically go in the room. That's a brilliant idea.
Sure.
Yeah.
And are you considering like a QR code or like a little piece of paper that people might take away that just draws their attention to where they'd find opening hours and any further information?
We can definitely take that away. It really came this morning. We don't really have a plan. But that's a great idea. And now we have the hours.
That's right.
Do an hour sign.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, we'll leave that in your capable hands and we'll really look forward to seeing you there. And I hope other members of the board can also come on that day. It's the 27th of July and there'll be fun things happening. I think it'll be a big day for celebration and it would be nice if you're able to come celebrate with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great. And I guess just on that, just thinking about promotional materials, I know that a lot of people are looking forward to getting back into the gym in that building, and there are other facilities that like the squash courts. I'd be so curious to know whether we can put up, hey, look over here, posters or something that draws the attention of everyone who comes into the fact that the library is returning, for a few months, perhaps after the grand opening. It'd be good.
That's great, yeah.
Yeah. All right, lovely. So, the next meeting date is scheduled for September the 11th at 4 p.m. Everyone has got that? No problems there. So I guess all we need is a motion to adjourn. Could I have unless there's anything else anyone wants to say? No? Could I have a motion to adjourn then, please? Cease, and let me just see, do I need a seconder? Yes, I do need a seconder. Cease and Walt. Great. All in favor? Lovely, that's carried. Thank you so much, everyone. And we will see you in September, if not in July.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.